So for interior design, there's a separate team at Ardit where they work on the project, where there's a different team which works on the interiors of the project. So for that, we need to finalize the services. When we start interiors, we also need a certain understanding about what kind of budgets we are looking at, because every project has a different set of budgets and we try to bring the best out of each budget. So for us, it's very important to understand what kind of budgets we are looking at so that we can appropriately, rightly specify those kind of requirements. Because let's say for flooring, if having a gray flooring or a white flooring, probably like 2 to 2.5 times the budget of gray flooring. So these kind of differences are essential to understanding. So for that, we ask the clients to finalize the flooring first, and at the same time, once we get to the interiors, in terms of once the flooring is designed, once the concepts are shared, so if those interior concepts are presented to the client over 3 to 4 meetings, where every set of interior, like different batches of interior spaces have been presented in 3D in virtual reality, where we can completely show them each particular use case with the kind of different references, samples, mood boards, all those things are presented in part of the process. And once we have all of them, the client gives approvals on each and every stage of it. Then the next stage comes is selection of furniture. So selection of furniture or whatever is the furniture, it becomes very important, because if you are getting furniture from Italy, Turkey, China, or even being customized from Delhi, we try to work and get the best out of the each particular possibility. So because it becomes very important, so it becomes far more important that the furniture is selected first and then the interiors is done accordingly. Similarly, for lighting as well, because as a lighting consultant would need to know that what exactly kind of furniture is being used, in terms of it is a leather sofa or a velvet sofa, what kind of lighting each of them would require, so he would accordingly plan for it. So if the wall has a certain kind of veneer paneling or a mirror or a glass, each of these use case defines to have a very specific kind of lighting, and all those things have been taken care part of the design would need those kind of information from the client. So we actually go for selections, like if the selection is happening in China, so it needs to be planned 2 months in advance. In Europe, even otherwise, if client is not traveling for furniture, it is far more advisable for the client to travel to fairs. Let's say there's a furniture fair which happens in Milan every April. There is a artifacts and decor fair which happens in Paris in September and January. So these act as a points where client can actually experience firsthand and the right kind of products, where they can later on decide if they want an original piece or a copy from Italy, or they want the same thing made locally. All these possibilities would exist as a flexibility approach to the each and every client. And even after the interiors get selected and the furniture gets selected, the next system lies in terms of the kitchen and wardrobe. So kitchen and wardrobe, we do it at a much earlier stage where the services are happening, because without kitchen and wardrobe vendor on board or the designs to be finalized, we cannot close the services like plumbing and electrical for those areas. So it becomes very crucial that we finalize those things first, so that we can come to the other parts of furniture, which are the, like in terms of sofas and other things, we could do it at a later stage. And the services, we are also supposed to do the external window systems, because external window systems, nowadays people go for slimline windows, people go for different kinds of windows, and certain window systems also have to do with certain changes in civil structure. So it becomes far more important to finalize window system in the initial stages of the project. Curtains, the bigger thing that lies in is in terms of the artwork inside the house. So we do quite a wide range of artwork, where we work with probably hundreds of different artists, where we have created a lot of different curated experiences for our client. So these experiences, it could be like a main door could be done by an artist, or a staircase could be done by an artist to a wall, or something even like a puja room. So there could be a wide variety of art, and art forms a very integral part of the house, because even a courtyard sculpture, so different elements of art bring in a sense of individuality to the house. Like it feels as if like it looks blank, and like each art, though the artist does the creation, we do the curation. Because curation is an interesting element where you can engage with the artwork, and we as an experience providers for the entire space, we try to bring in those kind of artists and those kind of artwork which brings in a very sense of individuality. And even like example like decorative lighting can also be individually crafted and created, which brings you that sense of individuality to the house, because so many houses where we see them on Pinterest and everything, so if we get to the products which are ready made, most of the time we lose the sense of individuality and it looks as if it is a house that was already seen somewhere. But to a point where we want it to be crafted individually, we actually need to create a lot of objects around where they could be done creatively. And at the same time, other than the artworks, forms an interesting element of objects, because objects are a world in itself, where you have right from tableware to crockery to dustbins to trays to everything, which are like the final garnish, or it's like the oregano on the pizza, where we need the final layer that is to be done. And these final layer actually has a lot of other selections, so we work with different stylists to provide those kind of artworks, where it can be sourced from different parts of the world. It can be sourced from China, it can be sourced from different sources in India, or even like you can get them from Europe, and like in form of paintings, in form of tableware, in form of decor. So each project has a different theme or mood that needs to be evaluated for the artwork to flow in. To make that artwork flow in, we actually work a lot backwards, and at the back end we actually work a lot to provide you the right kind of vendors and options, because we do a lot of our internal work to give you the right options. So that is also something that it takes in a lot of energy, and a lot of that create the kind of craftsmanship or the kind of final flavor to the house. So in the end, it's like creating a house has so many layers, and each layer has to be addressed very well, right from the flooring to the furniture to the paneling to the ceiling, because the bigger point in terms of the coordinating the ceiling becomes a very important role, because ceiling nowadays has more than 10 to 12 different kind of services, right from your Wi-Fi systems to your lighting to having your systems in terms of background music, in terms of your fire systems if they are applicable. So there are different kinds of systems which are wires that go into ceiling for different applications, and even your ACs exist there, your lights exist there, and even your trapdoors exist there. All these things have to be addressed seamlessly. Nowadays there are special lights which needs pre-planning right from the day of casting, or right from the day of planning kind of ceiling. All those things have to be planned well in advance. In a normal case it takes around 1 to 1.5 months to actually coordinate all the services, right from the AC vendor, right from all the automation vendor, and the kind of switch plate designs. So all of them, they come together and they are extremely given any due importance to each one of them, and then it forms a unified layer of services which can then be treated with the kind of finishes and the kind of mood board that has been to be done. So overall, other than this, it's also about how the landscape exists inside the house, the planters where they come in, the kind of elements they come in, where they come in balconies, and the kind of the spaces that has to be selected, and also the landscape, the garden, the gates, everything has to be done in a very appropriate. Even the main doors of the house to the internal doors, if they are factory fabricated, they are fabricated locally, they are fabricated on site, they are made in veneer, they are made in solid wood. So there are quite a lot of possibilities that each house creates, and then we try to address them in the most beautiful way, in the most optimized way possible. In the end, the whole purpose of experience of a house needs to stand for the test of generations. So that's why we take utmost care to create what we call as each house as a masterpiece.